Hello and welcome back to All About Community. Again, my name is Robert L. Harris. I am your host. And when we went to break, I told you that my next guest would be Chadwick Spell. Chadwick is the brand new chairman of the board of the Oakland African American Chamber of Commerce, which was founded by our last guest, Bishop Bob Jackson. Chadwick, welcome to All About Community.
I am very glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, well, it's my pleasure to have you. Let's talk for a moment before we get to the chamber, a little bit about you and your background. Where were you born? Where did you grow up? Were you born here in Oakland area?
No, I can't claim that privilege of being from the Bay.
Okay.
I am from South Carolina, Orangeburg.
Orangeburg.
Yeah.
I've been to Orangeburg.
Home of the Marching 101, the Bulldogs.
All right.
I grew up there, went to high school there. I'm the kid of two educators.
Oh, great.
Yeah, so they made sure education was stressed. So
Good.
I started out at South Carolina State University. The first year was university, not college.
Oh.
And had to find a way out.
And how did you find your way out?
Student exchange.
Oh, how did that?
How did that work?
Yeah.
I get that question a lot. I didn't know because an honors program at historically black colleges, a lot of the honors program will let you know that there's a student exchange program, just like the international one. Mm-hmm. It's the same advisors for a national one. So someone from your state university college system has to come to theirs. Mm-hmm. So I actually applied after my first year at South Carolina State, and Monica, I forgot her last name, and she had a twin sister. One of them went to South Carolina State, and I came to Cal State Hayward.
Oh, wow. Yeah. How about that? Now, if I remember, Orangeburg, wasn't that the area where Jim Clyburn came from?
Yes. Mr. Rickenbacker was one of my dad's, his representative in my hometown was one of my dad's assistant principals at one point. Yeah. And it's the home of South Carolina State University, as well as, if you remember, when Obama first ran, the first Democratic debate was at South Carolina State University.
Exactly. I remember that. And that was because of the influence of Congressman James Clyburn, who's an old friend of mine, by the way. Now, how did you get involved in the business that you're in now? Well, tell us a little bit about your career, your background, business background.
Well, that goes back to how I got here, too.
Oh, okay.
I was a chemical engineering major at South Carolina State, did a student exchange, ended up coming out here. My uncle was a cardiologist in Modesto, so I came out early because my goal was to get out. And I used his address because I did not want to go back. I was going to be here for a year. So after you're here for a year, you're in state as a resident. So then I transferred, got an internship at Clorox.
Clorox,
yep,
all
in
right.
Pleasanton, the research facilities. And then realized I didn't want to do chemical engineering. And then I changed my major to biology. Thought I was going to be a doctor. Shadowed my uncle. Didn't want to do that. And ended up at General Chemical in front of the Chevron refinery doing QA/QC in sulfuric acid, and realized I wasn't antisocial. So I ended up getting a job at Discovery Foods in Hayward, which sold, if you go to Costco, the Ling Ling pot stickers. Yeah, I worked for them in natural foods for 3.5 years. Wow. I grew the natural foods department for them. And then, because I wanted to go into medical sales, but they told me I didn't have experience.
Now, how did you get into your current business?
And
tell us what that
current business is. The Wachira Group. The Wachira Group is the parent company of 3 verticals in the alcohol industry. Wachira Wines, which is Dr. Christine Wachira, my wonderful other half, the winemaker and CEO of the Wachira Group. She's the winemaker for Wachira Wines. We have a tasting room called Caribou, which means welcome in Swahili.
Is that the one in Alameda?
Yep,
okay.
At 1419 Park Street in Alameda. Caribou is welcome in Swahili, so it's a welcome to not just us as a winemaker in our tasting room, people walk in the door, but other makers as well. And then we also, at the same time, because in any industry, the biggest issue is distribution. So we started Soko. Soko is Swahili for marketplace. So we also so it's the first woman-owned, black-owned winery tasting room in Alameda County, which means the entire Bay Area, Caribou. Soko Distributors is the first and the only black-owned and woman-owned, black-owned distributor of wine, beer, and liquor, because there's been other beer distributors we know, Seth,
Yeah.
And there's been other wine distributors, but not one that does all three in the state of California.
Mm.
And we've been doing that. So when she started making wine, I'm like, well, if we're going to make wine, we might as well be a distributor as well. And we did both licensing at the same time, almost 7 years ago.
And how's business been going?
Wonderful. We distribute about 5 different makers of wine, and not only just our wines, but 5 other makers of color, locals, and women. And the first and second legally licensed black distilleries in the United States, out of Minneapolis, Minnesota, Denord Social Spirits, and New England Sweetwater out of Winchester, New Hampshire. So we have grown nicely, and we'll be adding some new products this year and some new brands.
And again, it's called Wachura
Wachura Wines and Soko Distributors.
Okay.
And we're actually branching out now too. So my whole life revolves around alcohol, just about.
The good kind.
The good kind. The good kind.
A little bit of wine never hurts anybody.
Hey, I tell people all the time, I've been tremendously blessed throughout my life, and the first wine I ever had was communion. So I'm just trying to follow some good footsteps and keep people happy, nothing more.
Okay, well, that's very good. We're going to have to go to break in a couple of minutes. Well, in a minute. But before we do, you were recently elected chair of the Oakland African American Chamber of Commerce?
Yes, chair of the board, which is a great honor. And to follow in the footsteps of Bishop and Sess Butner and I don't know if you've done that term as well or not yet, but
no, the only thing I've done is be the legal counsel for them. That's more than enough.
Keep us in line, yes.
Yeah.
And it's just an honor to be able to advocate on behalf of the businesses in Oakland, especially African American businesses.
Well, good. So we're going to have to go to break, but when we come back, we're going to talk specifically about the Oakland African American Chamber of Commerce. Don't touch that remote. Again, my name is Robert L. Harris. I'm your host, and my guest is Chadwick Spell.